Hello everyone, in this video we will be talking about all of the additional tabs in this tool that are not directly involved in the ADIME process that we have talked about in the previous videos. We'll be looking at all of these tabs starting from the front, namely CP1. CP1 and CP2 are actually stands for case portfolio. So those things are actually relevant for the documentation process. The first thing that are actually not directly relevant is something that I call plan. This is where I actually put in all of the concepts that I wanted to work with, and some of the concepts I've actually deleted from this file, but some of the things that I think might be helpful for anyone interested to further develop this Google spreadsheet is included in this plan. Usually I will be hiding this. So since we have already explained what it means, then I will now be hiding that Google Sheet. Next is the Patho and proto tab. What it stands for is pathophysiology prototype. What this is meant to do is to help us to construct sentences for pathophysiology of the disease that we are actually looking at. So what you will usually do is just put in definition, etiology, epidemiology, pathophysiology from different sources. If that's a suitable way to go about looking into your disease physiology. And once you have typed in everything, at the leftmost area here, they will connect all of the sentences together. Then you can use that for whatever case presentation purposes that you would like to use. But in my experience, this has not been the most helpful features because in most clinical cases, we won't usually have the time to use it. And especially when it comes to VP2, which is your semester 8, that's when it's not useful to document the pathophysiology of a certain disease, but maybe at Sem 7 it might still be useful. I'll be leaving this open so that other people who use this can come in and actually have a look at what this can do. Next is the linking part. I've always stressed in the previous series of videos that this tool is not meant to replace us in critical thinking. This is because this Google spreadsheet is unable to actually conduct critical thinking, in that it can't actually make sense of the data when we want to link it together. This is my attempt to stimulate a human thought process when they are looking into a case. When they say they are linking the different assessment categories together, I try to simulate that thinking process into a Excel format, into a logical 0 to 1, 1 to 0 format. It's my attempt. I won't dwell too much on this because, long story short, that attempt was not successful. I think if with the off chance that we wanted to make this work, we would need someone with a better grade than I am. I didn't really do particularly well in my semester 8, so that's one factor to it. We also need people who know AI technology, how machine learning works, how machine programming, code, language, all of those things work, in order to actually translate a fluid human thinking process, the ingenuity of a human thinking process, into a rigid machine-like thinking. So I'll leave this as blank, but it might be something that I might explore in the future, or people who are interested to develop this into an AI or something like an AI can explore. The remaining CP1, CP2, DCN, and NCP I will explain in the next video, the documentation part. Next is the Paeds Anthro reference. This is actually the data being used by Anthro tab when it's trying to evaluate a Paeds daily weight gain and daily height gain status. But during my development of this weight evaluation feature for pediatric cases, I didn't manage to find a place to actually put all of this data nicely. So I just left it here in a very messy state, but it's good enough. It's being placed in a position good enough to actually make the anthropometry works. So I didn't want to further develop anything concerning that part, so I didn't actually make it more organized. But if anybody is interested to further develop it, that's one thing that you can look into. The data used for evaluation in this anthropometry tab are actually linked with this tab right here. I will hide this sheet under the normal circumstances. Next is this biochemical graph. If you notice from my previous biochemical data video, I didn't actually explain on this graph because in my experience, I never actually use this graph unless for case presentation purpose. And one thing that I found about this graph is it actually eats up a lot of space when you download this file. Most of the space in the file that you have downloaded is actually devoted to displaying all of this graph. So it's eating up a lot of space and it doesn't have a consistent and frequent use for it. Under the normal circumstances, I would have actually deleted this tab just so to save the space. But I'm leaving it here. The space that is being used up is not significant. This whole file is still under 1 megabyte. Even if you download it whether you download it in your PC or you download it in your phone. But it does eat up a lot of space and a majority of space. So I will hide this under normal circumstance or only open it up from here if I wanted to use it for case presentation. Next is this exchange list right here. This I have documented all of the exchanges for different types of food for easy reference when I'm tending to patient or when I forgot how many exchange a certain food is at the certain quantity that I am actually looking at. So it's actually for the reference purpose, and I will usually leave it open if I'm someone that actually need the reference to work out my cases. Next, we have the guideline tab. All of these are actually guideline, the normal guideline, the pregnancy guideline, and the pediatric guideline. All these I took quite some time to actually copy because there's just so much data to just compile and copy it together. And yeah, it was even then it's not organized, but these are all of the guidelines that will be used to display in this prescription right here. And for this pediatric guideline, the Peterson equation, the foundation of the Peterson equation existing in this diagnosis actually finds its root in the pediatric guideline here, which means that if we delete this tab, the Peterson equation in this tab right here would not actually work. I would usually keep all these 3 tabs open during my clinical practice, but seeing that the digital logbook feature is not that useful right now, it might be something that you would consider to keep hidden during your use of the tool. Next is our RNI. This is RNI 2017, copied from the RNI book with a list of the age, the range of age for the age status, which is what is being used in the CMHX to evaluate the patient's age status right here. I would usually keep RNI open because of how frequently I would use RNI just for comparative standard purposes, even if not actually prescription purpose in my management of clinical cases. HKJ meal plan, this is where the meal plan are displayed in INT intervention actually comes from. So if it's a normal diet, all of the normal diet will be displayed here. Usually I will keep this hidden because I don't always have to refer it back, since I already make the intervention tab to display all of the foods of the diet that I wanted to prescribe for my patient. But sometimes it might be helpful to keep it open because if you are using this tool on the phone, it sometimes takes a while for the Google Sheet to actually display all of the food that are over here. but under normal circumstances, I will just keep it hidden. But one more thing, it's different hospitals would have different diet at different time. So this is only applicable for the time that I was in the clinical placement at Hospital Kajang. You might need to change all of this menu if you would like to use it for your own usage, but it might be very difficult for you to actually copy it because this is actually one single cell. One single cell have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows of data. That will be very confusing for Excel if your new plan doesn't have a single row with 6 rows of data. But what the intervention tab essentially do is just if you choose normal, then it will find normal and display the 4 tabs going all the way down. So long as your meals are actually within this area going all the way down, that's what the intervention tab will actually display over here, going all the way down when you display your when you choose your diet. Okay, I will just keep this hidden for now. Next is our ONS tab. This is the tab that we use to refer to all of the energy and nutrient contents contained within the product, the ONS product. This is what I received at least during my DM116 placement, and you have to update this yearly. And there might be some area inside this as well, and all these things may have already been not up to date, so you have to explore, or you have to explore yourself, edit this table yourself, and if it's too tedious, maybe you can just build on the concept that is in this table. Basically, the concept is you take the table that your cohort did for the ONS product, and then you take a formula left and right so that you can produce this ONS calculator over here. And you can copy all of the formulas that you actually see in all of the cells here. The formulas are actually quite straightforward for this small section, at least the section until here above the script. So it's a easy concept to actually replicate. All it takes is just to understand how all the formulas actually work. Next is your ONS tool. This is a tab that I will usually keep hidden because it is only meant to help the Google Sheet to recognize, say, if I want adult standard polymeric formula, so only give me the option of adult standard polymeric formula to choose from. Now, for demonstration purpose, now if we go back to prescription and I put, okay, I want adult standard polymeric, and that ONS 2 tab is what actually helping us to give out the options that are relevant for elemental, that are relevant under this category semital. If we change another modular powder, and again all of the options will change. The ONS 2 tab over here is actually what makes this feature possible inside this Google spreadsheet. This is something that I will usually keep hidden since it has been explained, so I'll keep it hidden for now. Next is your eNCPT. I use a method called web crawling to basically automate a program that will scrape data out of the eNCPT website, and I scrape all of the, I think 70 plus 70 plus nutrition diagnosis with all of its definition, blah 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 blah, tab here. So you can actually refer to this, but I won't actually recommend that you refer to this because it's very difficult to read, and it's better to just refer to it at the DX tab, nutrition diagnosis tab. And all these things that you see here is actually what makes the DX eNCPT PES statement generator possible. As you type in the assessment data, the Google spreadsheet will be doing some background work to give you a suggestion to the best possible path statement according to the system that I program it to have over here. This is where it makes all of its matches and stuff. So usually I will keep this tab hidden because it is only necessary for the Google Sheet to see, to have in order to do the job that I designed it to do. So human eyes actually don't have to look at it to make any sort of decisions. Next is our CDC, WHO, Down syndrome for DS, and preterm for PT. These are the tables possible. These are the tables necessary to make the evaluation of pediatric weight and height, as well as BMI and head circumference, and weight over length possible in the anthropometry section. Deleting any of the tables over here would absolutely destroy the features, the weight evaluation features for the anthropometry here for pediatric cases. Usually we don't have to look at them. This is just data for Google spreadsheet to key in to find in order to find out the percentile of the patient. And I actually acquired this, all of this data from the seattlechildren.org. I included the link in the previous anthropometry video, so you can refer to that. And at least in my experience, some of the info are incomplete. For example, Down syndrome, you have 0 to 3 years old and 2 to 20 years old. 2 to 20 years old, but for preterm, phantom preterm, I was only able to find out 22 to 49 weeks. Yeah, so that's one of the flaws that I have already explained in the anthropometry video as well. So under normal circumstances, we don't need to see this, so I will keep them hidden for now. And that would be everything for the additional tabs called Resources tab in this tool that are not directly relevant for the ADIME documentation process. Finally, in the next video, I'll be showing you how to actually transfer all of the data that you have done here into a Google document. And that Google document will be directly linked with this Google Sheet, where anything that you change over here would be reflected in that Google Doc. I'll see you in that next video.